What is going on, everyone? It's your guy, Cole Jackson, back here on Road Graders coming off the bye week. I hope all of you guys out there enjoyed a week off, a week away from the stress that is Baltimore Ravens football. And I hope you went out there, did something with your family and loved ones. I spent a lot of time with my kids. It was Canadian Thanksgiving, so to my fellow Canadians, happy Thanksgiving. But we're going to be diving into some of the key pieces over this week, just as we get ready for the return to action and taking a look at a couple guys that have been underwhelming or disappointing and trying to answer the question why. So we're going to start today with Roger Rosengarten. You guys know, if you followed the channel last year, huge Roger Rosengarten fan. His progress last year, we covered his really solid start. We covered his struggles. And we covered his last 6 weeks where he really hit the upswing. So we were kind of there for the whole experience. And coming out the year, it's been a disappointing start. He looks like there's been a bit of a regression. I think I have some answers as to why. And so if you guys are looking forward to this breakdown, if you guys appreciate these O-line breakdowns, do me a favor, hit that like button, hit subscribe if you're new here. And thank you to our friends at Profit X for sponsoring this video. Go over and check out Profit X. We got 2 Monday Night Football games tonight. That means better odds over at Profit X. It's a peer-to-peer market exchange. It is not a traditional sports book. That means better odds for you. So go over there, check it out. Use promo code ROADGraders. You'll get up to $200 in Profit X cashback. That's just bigger bets for you, bigger winnings. So let's dive into it. Taking a look at Roger's film. Let's get everything organized here. All right. So I'm going to use 2 clips here at the start to really kind of set the stage, because I found a couple plays where I think it really showed both issues. So we're going to be focusing primarily on Roger Rosengarten's anchor, as well as Roger Rosengarten's, I say hand placement, but it's almost his striking and pass protection. So when I say striking, because some of it's hand placement, some of it's wide hands, some of it's not protecting his inside hand. So it's a little bit of a mixture of both, but it's essentially when he gets back in his pass set and he's shooting his hands. So it's really that strike timing, strike placement, kind of that big bucket. So you're going to see right here against the Browns earlier this year where And this happened last year. Roger Rosengarten, just for kind of the context behind it, Roger Rosengarten, we know, lacks the functional strength. That's the biggest thing he had to improve. We also know that his movement skills are extremely high level. He's at his best when he's mixing up his set point, when he's taking those, a 90-degree step and then quick setting and jumping out and getting his hands on his guy. He's not at his best when he sits back and lets guys kind of come to him. And that's where he struggled a lot. And so you'll see right here, as he gets out of his set. So right here, as he gets, so it's just a quick 45-degree set. You can see him come out on that 45-degree plane. As he's going to come out, you can see right there, he just gets lined up and he gets driven. And this has been happening a little bit too often. You see it again here from Aiden Hutchinson. So once again, you see right there, guys know exactly how they want a game plan for Roger. And this has been really important because the way defenses have been playing the Ravens with this spy system is they basically look at the way Aiden Hutchinson's aligned. And I mean, he's always kind of that wide 9 alignment, but essentially what he wants to do is just run through Roger Rosengarten. And so if he doesn't mix up his set and get hands out quick, he's just going to have this happen where he kind of sits back. And one thing that's driving me absolutely nuts, try and pause it on the right thing. Watch him wind up his hands. It is driving me bananas. See how his hands came down to the bottom like that? And then he's going to land up and high. So rather than shooting those hands out in with his wrist tight, he does this big arm circles. You guys know when you're in gym class, you guys are warming up, doing the arm circle. So watch right here as he's going to land those hands. See that? Like, that is just nonsense. This seems to be a George Warhop thing where George Warhop is doing something that's teaching these outside hand technique, because we see it from every single O-lineman, and we've seen so many guys regressing. So I wish I could talk to him and understand the logic, or at least correct that maybe I'm wrong and he's not teaching it, but I don't remember seeing it as often. So that's kind of the issue in bulk. It's that hand placement, strike timing, that sort of thing, and letting guys run through his anchor. So we'll start with some clips here showing the poor anchor. So you're going to see against Joey Bosa here on the right side in the Bills game. Joey Bosa is just going to come out, and you see right there, knock him back. And this is what he needs to be able to control, because it's instantly collapsing that pocket. And even though the defender has to waste that energy in the sense of he's not going to be right on the quarterback, but he's going to knock him back. It completely throws off the quarterback's read. And you see Lamar Jackson drop his eyes as soon as he drops right there. And he's getting pressure from the left as well, which is also a fundamental problem. This is that crazy Lamar scramble. But that inability to absorb through his anchor has been just giving him huge issues. And so that's kind of a couple clips here where we'll look through it. Just seeing him kind of take those knockbacks. So this is where I'd like to see him meet these power rushers out in space a little quicker. So rather than dropping back into those 45-degree sets, 90-degree sets, and letting guys just run in and basically hit him like a sled, he's got to get out there, because when he does hit his hands, you can see it, wide hands again. Consistent problem, just hasn't been able to get that cleaned up. See it here again. He's against Aiden Hutchinson once again. Wide 9 alignment, 4-point stance. He's going to kind of get out there and right there run through that anchor. So this is, and there's Lamar, just like, can we go back and look at this for a sec? Where is it? Talk about a picture that just describes the pass protection this year. 1, 2, 3, 4 offensive linemen looking back at Lamar Jackson, with one still kind of blocking someone and him about to be tackled by 4 guys. It's been hard to watch, folks. I know it's hard for you to watch. It's hard for me to rewatch. But again, you're seeing these issues. So here it is against the Rams as well, with Tyler Huntley in. See right there, getting his anchor ran through and giving him that inside hand. So that's what happens, is not only will he get run in, but he opens that inside lane because of how guys can square him. So right here, when Jared Verse comes out to hit him, you can see him drive. He's pushing that inside right hand of his through Rodgers' inside left hand and just driving through and basically opening that inside gate. See it again here, back against the Browns. Once again, just so. And then we get into some of these poor hand placement issues, right? So, we know the anchor issues there. We know his hands are landing high and wide. And then you see it kind of really creep up. So right here, as he's going to square up on Aiden Hutchinson, you see him just miss his strike. So this is what I meant. Like, it's strike placement, but it's also strike timing. Because what he's doing a little bit more this year is he's going to set a little bit deeper here, and then he's going to use that 2-hand strike. And right there, as he hits that 2-hand strike, he's getting out over his skis. He's leaning a little bit, and they're just setting that up to attack inside. Aiden Hutchinson's taking that inside right hand to put on the back shoulder pad and then hit that up and under or up and over. And so right there, as he attacks, it just creates that inside lane. Lamar has to roll out. So guys are preparing for this, and that's where I've noticed you're not seeing as much of a varied set. We will look at some clips later where he still is doing it, but I don't find he's doing it as consistently. He's really sitting back. He's letting them run into him, and then he's leaning and he's hitting his hands wide. It's kind of those 3 things all working against him right now. Once again, Aiden Hutchinson out wide there. Obviously, Aiden Hutchinson's an absolute beast, but sometimes you got to block absolute beast. So he's going to exact same setup, inside hand, then he hits him with a spin move. And this is what these guys will do in this pass rush game. He just hit you on the inside move. Okay, I'm going to attack inside, spin back outside. And again, when you're sitting back conservatively so consistently, guys can kind of toy with you a little bit. Whereas if you're going to take that 90-degree step with his right foot where he kicks back and then he goes out and attacks, that's where you start to vary your set, and that's where you catch guys off guard. And that's what he did so well last year. You go back and watch the film that I put out on against TJ Watt in the playoffs. He was mixing it up in every rep that he had one-on-one against him. Now, here we get some Danielle Hunter clips in the Houston game, and he just had his way with him on the inside move. Right there, just again, those hands are missing, strike timing, strike placement, it's a mess. Now he's going to hit him out wide and just run around him. I feel like he's so overwhelmed so consistently when he gets out in space right now because he's not attacking. We're going to see him get back here. Once again, we're going back and just getting hit with that inside move and then for the sack. So you're kind of seeing it pretty consistently there, right? So a lot of those they're not those varied sets that I'm talking about. A lot of 45s, a lot of 90s where he's sitting back. Now, to be clear, before we kind of move on, you can't quick set every rep. You can't, do a mix. You got to win some of these reps because it's almost like your fastball, right? Your vertical set, your 45 degrees is going to be your fastball. And then where you mix in some of those varied sets where you're going to jump out and do a quick set. And we'll look at some here if you guys aren't as familiar with the terminology. You can't always mix it up like that, right? So I do understand that, but I just find he's not doing it as consistently throughout the game, and he's playing into the hands of the edge rushers as they set up their pass rush plan, whereas he last year got into a habit of dictating those reps. So as we see here, we'll see some positive reps where, he's still having some really nice wins. So I think this one's going to be play action. So he's going to, I might have mixed up my clips. Maybe we go into the bad run plays here. Okay. Taking a look in the run game. We kind of looked at this throughout some plays. So you're going to see this is that Ed Oliver where he crosses his face. So taking a look in the run game where the functional strength issues pop up, he has to overtake a 3-tech right here. He's in between Roger Rosengarten and Daniel Falele. He has to overtake Ed Oliver. And this is where his functional strength has been popping up in the run game, where he is just going to cut off and he's just not able to get there in time. And Ed Oliver is just going to make that play in the backfield. Now here you're going to see it again. So right, almost the exact same play. He's lined up in that B gap as a 3 technique. Ed Oliver, once again, Roger has to overtake. They're just trying to run power here. So Falele pulled. Roger has to cut off here and be a down blocker. And you see how quickly Derrick Henry gets hit after getting that ball, and that's why that fumble happened. So some of these functional strength issues in the run game have really been plaguing him. You see him right here again against the Browns, where he's got to get out and he's just got to drive block 91. Like this is just outside zone. If you guys watched my run game video last week, I was complaining a lot about pulling players on the goal line, and ideally you can run zone. But if you're going to run zone like this, I mean, the numbers game actually sets up really well if you look at it pre-snap. And if you look right now, they're running to the strong side. They're on the far hash. And so what's going to happen here is Roger needs to take that inside shoulder, and then that allows Falele to climb up to 17. I mean, whether or not Falele gets there, we'll see. Linderbaum overtakes 94, and that's the way that zone block is going to work. But as Roger comes out, he needs to head starts right. That head's outside. He needs to drive through that outside shoulder of the edge player, and you see him just get walked back. Derrick Henry has to cut, and there's just nowhere for him to read outside, inside to make those cutbacks. So consistent problem that's been happening with Roger. See it right here where he's just got to knock out, and you see him he's not able to drive these guys. So those are functional strength issues that have been happening in the run game for 2 years now. I expected it to be a little bit better. It just hasn't quite got there yet. Again, right there, he just had to drive the 3-tech off the ball again. So they're pulling around him. So you're going to get 2 pullers. He's got to drive that inside shoulder of the 4-eye technique. He's not quite a 3 technique. He's just inside his crotch here. So it's a 4-eye technique, the defensive tackle over top of Roger. He just has to drive him off the ball. And you see him, he gets pushed right into Tyler Linderbaum, which is the puller, and disrupts it. Now we get some positive run game clips because there are some positives. And this is what I mean. It's not all bad. It's not all doom and gloom. You're going to see him drive the 3-tech off the ball here. And so you see when he lines them up, because he's not going to drive guys consistently with his physical strength. It's all about angles. And when you see him take those proper angles and play with the proper leverage, he does just enough to be able to successfully execute a run block. You see it again here where he gets into the second level. This is where he thrives. You see him turn back on Ternell Bernard. This is probably one of the best run blocks of his career. So again, they're going outside zone here. So he's got to climb. Let it set up here. So he's got to right there. As it's a toss, I guess. He's got to climb into that second level, and he needs to take out the most inside linebacker, which is Bernard. And so he sets him up, whereas Bernard could have ran through that inside hand, but because he's so quick, he takes that angle, and then he pushes him back and away from the ball. A lot of that launched by Roger Rosengarten making that block on the inside linebacker. So, I mean, he definitely has highlight blocks. And that's why, if you look at the run game last week, I was really excited because a lot of those more finesse blocks, I think, gets him out in space. Boy, did we ever spoil that game. This was last week where, again, we have some of those more positive plays. Again, they're climbing to that second level. Seal block right there. See how he turned back there? Good awareness in zone to turn back, fine work. So what I did mistakenly is I didn't include the positive pass game clips, which is a mistake by me. So I had a bunch that I wanted to show because I wanted to give you guys the balanced picture where I do think he is performing in certain aspects. I just completely screwed up the editing of this video. So I'll try and do a part 2 where we look at a couple of the positives. Essentially, if you guys have watched my content on Roger before, it's kind of what I've been talking about. It's where he's mixing up those sets, where he takes kind of a harsh vertical step back, and then he'll jump out at the defender and just kind of play him that way rather than constantly sitting back. So he's a little bit more attacking. I think I had about 4 clips in there that should have been edited into that video to take a look at, just showing where he's done it this year, because that's one of my big conclusions here is Rodgers still doing a lot of the things that he did really well. It just comes down to consistently applying his technique. I think one really small way that he can clean this up is just by landing his hands inside and getting away from those outside hands. I know it sounds really small. He's still going to have plays where he gets his anchor run through. I think you're going to have to live with that with him just because of the type of player he is. I think that's okay too. Like last year, they gave him a lot more help than they needed to. And so I think if they can get him into that kind of, mixing up his sets and landing with his hands inside, it's going to go a long way in protecting him as a pass protector. So that's kind of what I'd like to see out of him. Sorry I didn't get those clips in there. I'm pretty embarrassed right now. It's just bad editing by me. But I just want you guys to know that we are seeing him do it this year. It just comes down to that consistency. And, I go back to a line that my good friend Michael Crawford always said, these guys are all out here chasing consistency. And I think that's a great way to put it, because you see guys at the professional level do things at such a high level. It's just the guys that, separate lower tier players from mid tier players from upper tier players. If there was a bar right here that said consistency, that's sometimes it's just special athletes when you get into the elite tier. But, the difference between backups and starters is how consistently you can apply that technique. Roger has all of the things except for physical strength that you'd like to see. He's athletic. He gets out in space. He's got good awareness. It's just consistently playing with that right hand leverage. So that's what I have for you guys today. Sorry again for the poor editing by me. Pretty piss poor attempt. But do me a favor, if you guys did enjoy this breakdown, if you think you learned something, hit that like button, hit subscribe if you're new here. And thank you to our friends at ProfitX for sponsoring this.